Hello and welcome to another edition of the Door 14 Hockey Podcast. I'm your host Marty alongside Dave.
Hello.
Hello, just me and you tonight.
Yeah, and you almost didn't have me.
I know there was some technical faults there to start with. There was a slight panic that I thought
Yes,
maybe there'd be maybe a chance I have to deliver the podcast on my own for the very first time. And I was thinking to myself, how will that go? But you know what? It would be a challenge and I would have tried it,
I'm
but
hoping. I'm hoping my phone battery holds out. That's the next thing.
if it does die off, I'll just try and continue the best way I possibly can and just tell the stories that are here for this week. So let's rattle through if you've only got a certain battery length. Aaron is not here this week, obviously, and John is on paternity leave. He welcomed him and Catherine welcomed a little baby boy. I think it's okay to say because he did post on social media last night. A little baby boy last week, and we are obviously send our congratulations to them. And we'll see John back soon enough, I am sure. Dave, how are you doing? I'm trying to think when we last seen each other. Was it last weekend for the game?
The game, yeah,
Sunday, I think it was. Was it?
yeah. Now
Yes.
Sunday for the five game.
Yes, what felt like the 500, what felt like the 500th Challenge Cup game. We were at the Belfast versus Fife game. I think we both missed the CHL game in the middle of the week as well, for various reasons, which seemed to be a really good game.
I know, raging.
And yeah, that is the last CHL home game that the Giants will be playing this season. So full focus now on home fixtures, both in the Challenge Cup and league play. We will do as we always do, and we'll get stuck into our podcast, and we'll start off in period 1 of hockey. Okay, we'll start off our period by looking at the league tables and the league standings as they currently are. This is nice. Anybody who's watching the podcast, there's a sexy new graphic that I'm using, and hopefully you like it. It's nice. I say that because I read it. Let's have a quick look at the Elite League standings as they currently are on the 16th of October 2025. Sitting at the top of the league is the Manchester Storm with 4 games played and 6 points. In second place, the Glasgow Clan. Sorry to be such surprise. Glasgow Clan with 5 games played and 6 points. The Nottingham Panthers are in third with 3 games played, 5 points. The Cardiff Devils are in fourth, 2 games played, 4 points. Guildford are in fifth, 3 games played, 4 points. Sheffield are in sixth, 3 games played, 3 points. Dundee are seventh with 2 games played, 1 point. Belfast are in eighth, even though they haven't played any games and have no points. They're in eighth. The Coventry Blaze are in ninth with 1 game played and 0 points, and the Five Flyers are in 10th, having played 3 games and scored no points. We will come back to the Five Flyers later in period 1. Dave, let's get your thoughts first and foremost. That top of the, I know it's very, very, very early days. I mean, max 5 games have been played by teams very, very early doors. What's your take on this? Manchester and Glasgow sitting top of the league there.
Yeah, it's a very different looking league table. Obviously, we are, as I said, very early on, but it's good to see some of the teams getting a bit of form, stringing a few wins together. And I think this year, based on what we've seen in the Challenge Cup as well, is we're going to have a lot of overtime games. The season seems to be filled with them.
Oh yeah.
And so I think we're going to see that all season long, which will mean our points will be really tight, which is what you want in a league. You want competitiveness all the way through, and I think we'll see that. Unfortunate with Fife, as we're going to talk about them, and then Coventry can't really judge, and we played 1 game, and the same with the Giants. Whenever we start seeing more games, we'll be able to talk a bit more. But yeah, it's nice to see some different faces to the top of the league.
And you're right. I mean, at this early stage, and you would hope that some of this form can continue, because the one thing we always talk about and we always harp on about every year is we want a league that is challenging. We want teams that are challenging in this league to make this league more interesting. We don't want it to be the usual top 4, top 5 competing every single year, and then the other teams just kind of trailing along the bottom, just trying to scrape together points and games. The fact that we've got Manchester Storm and Glasgow at the top, and again, as I say, early doors, but Manchester Storm starting off on a really nice strong footing whenever they had such woes last year, and found it really difficult to get off the bottom of that table last year. And Glasgow Clan, let's talk about the fact that Glasgow Clan have played Sheffield Steelers in 2 of those league games out of 5 and have beat the Sheffield Steelers in both of those games. something that I'm sure a lot of people were not expecting at this point.
Yeah, totally agree. And the comes down to really top class netmind in there in Glasgow. I think that's been the difference maker. But we'll see that going through the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think there was a bit of concern at the start. Sammy Adekaliyo is their new netminder that they've brought in with such high caliber of NHL experience and a bunch of others. And I think when he first got brought in, I think people were kind of and I put it out there as part of one of the videos I made about how he had this potential to be one of the key players this season, and he's had some great performances so far. And I think initially that initial start, I think people were a bit concerned, but hopefully. I haven't jinxed it. Touch wood, I haven't jinxed it. But yeah, that's doing well. And the other thing to mention as well before we move into the league, the cup standings, is the Cardiff or the Nottingham Panthers. Nottingham Panthers also net minding is a strong part there too.
Yes.
We have to look at the fact that they've had a number of shutouts already this season, and shutouts are going to be the difference maker. And that's strong goaltending, but also defensive play, which is clearly showing through there. They may not be having the same luck in the cup, but they're definitely going the right way in the league, and I'm sure that's what they're aiming for this season. Dave, I'm going to move on to the cup. We'll have a quick look at that, and then we'll have a look at the other stories for this period. So the Challenge Cup, as it currently stands, two groups, as you would know, Group A and Group B. Group A, Coventry Blaze sit top with 9 games played and 12 points. The Sheffield Steelers are in second with 8 games played, 11 points. The Cardiff Devils are in third, 8 games played, 10 points. Nottingham Panthers are in fourth, 9 games played, 10 points. Manchester Storm are in fifth, 7 games played, 6 points. And the Guildford Flames sit in the bottom of Group A, 7 games played and 4 points. In Group B, then, we have the Belfast Giants have moved to the top of Group B for the first time this season. People thought that was going to be something that was going to be easy for them this season, and it hasn't been. There are 10 games played and 13 points. So they've played 2 more games than the Dundee Stars, and the Dundee Stars are sitting in second place with 8 games played and 11 points, so right on the tail of the Belfast Giants. The Glasgow Clan are in third with 7 games played and 4 points, and the Fife Flyers are in the fourth place with 9 games played and 7 points, showing that they're getting more points in the cup than they are in the league and getting a bit more, I suppose, better play, shall we say, in the Challenge Cup than they are in league performance at the moment. As it currently stands, the Coventry Blaze, the Sheffield Steelers, and the Belfast Giants would move on to the next round, and the Cardiff Devils would face off against the Dundee Stars for that last spot. But we're still in Challenge Cup season, and that's still ongoing for another while yet. So all will change the next 2 weeks, I am sure. Dave, what's your thoughts in terms of this? You know, let's take a quick look first off at the fact that the Coventry Blaze are sitting top of the Group A.
Yeah.
9 games played, 12 points, but yet in league action, they're still, although they've only played 1 game. So I suppose we have to look at it that way. So I have to take it factor that in. But what's your thoughts here?
It's what we've said. It's what we've wanted from any of the competitions for a long time. We're seeing competitiveness top to bottom. Dundee beat the Giants 2 times, 3 times. And then Fife went and beat Dundee twice, I think. So there's a lot of this turnover, and then you just need to look at the points percentage when you look at it. Everybody's in bar Guildford. Everyone's sort of close to that 50% mark. So they're taking half the points that are available to them. So you've got the only people that are above that are Dundee, the Giants, Cardiff, Sheffield, and Blaze, the people that are currently sitting in those sort of playoffy sections. But that means that it could all change on a dime with that information. So we'll see how it goes. I've actually found it quite refreshing. I know that a lot of Giants fans obviously haven't. A lot of fair weather fans that aren't used to seeing losses at this time of the season. Marty, you remember 2008 having to change the team mid-season, and that was the worst I had seen them, and that was a hell of a lot worse than this.
Yeah, no, and I agree. I mean, the thing is, it's I think the biggest surprise of the Challenge Cup so far this season, and I've said this already, is that it has been so unpredictable to this point. Like there has been no rhyme, no reason to the scoring, to the wins and losses. It has been genuinely an interesting like start to the Challenge Cup this season. And we can talk, we complain about the Challenge Cup and it has its flaws. We know it has its flaws. It takes too long and everything else. But the competition this year for the Challenge Cup just feels different in a different
Yeah.
level for some reason. It just feels there's something just feels different about it this season. And I don't know if that's because there is more competition, it's more competitive so far this season, but it's been definitely an interesting. It's definitely been an interesting to watch so far, which is refreshing. But as you say, yeah, the Giants in particular have had a number of difficulties. Really struggling in this early part of the season to pull together wins in regulation. Pulling out points, 1 point here and 1 point there, with an overtime loss. I think, obviously, I kind of I've thought that the Giants obviously just need a bit of a boost, and I think this past CHL action that happened this week, and obviously then the win last weekend. Although I hate to say it, and we're going to talk about Fife now in a minute, but you know, beating Fife when like convincingly like you do, and you shut them out. While it might boost you a bit of confidence for players who are having a bit of a scoring drought, it's not really. I don't mean to say I don't want to say it's not competitive because it's not a fair thing to say about Fife, but it's not. Re- how do I
We'll
say it
not
politely? You
see
know what I mean?
the
It's
we'll not see
yeah,
the Giants form until we see somebody outside of this group.
yeah,
We've played these guys too many times,
yeah,
and what we've ended up with is that, as we say, and when you're playing like cup games, CHL is a good example. Any given Sunday, there's a chance that you could win, or anybody could win. We've seen earlier in the group stage, Fife took us to OT. So but then we're coming back. But that's because you learn from those mistakes, and then you end up
yep,
being able to put convincing big games in, like we did against Fife,
yeah,
where I don't think we'll see what this Giants team can do until we start playing any of the other six on a random, match. No, not a double header, just a Saturday night one-off game where we don't. All they have to prepare for is the tapes and the previous season.
yep.
Um, we'll see how Kiefer and the coaches adapt and how the team adapts to the different styles of play and different makeups of teams.
Yeah. Let's get stuck in. We do have a few stories in period one to kind of cover. Let's stick in. Because we've already talked about it. Let's go with Fife first. Just because I think it's the best way to do it because I've just had a conversation about that. So Fife Flyers this week, the GM and club president Max Breiber have publicly acknowledged that the team has been underperforming by putting out a statement, a short statement, shall we say? But they've put out a statement already this season, which sometimes is not a great thing to start with. But the statement kind of went. The gist of it was a plea for to stay positive to fans.
Mhm.
He basically mentioned that it's been a rough stretch, two heavy defeats over the weekend. They had another heavy defeat there last night against the Nottingham Panthers, another shutout loss last night to the Nottingham Panthers. They I think it was 4-0. I think the Nottingham Panthers won last night. 6-0 shootout, shutout loss against Belfast, 7-2 drubbing at home against Guildford Flames. That's a 6-1 loss as well to Manchester Storm at the start of the league campaign. So Braver did admit that injuries have bitten hard. The club is often playing short-handed, and players are being pushed into roles that they're not used to playing. He also said the team keeps a close eye on the markets for reinforcement, but is constrained by elite league regulations on how many changes a club can make, as we already know. And they did make
Yes.
a big statement to say we don't want to just pick players for the sake of picking players. We want to make sure the players that we pick to cover are the right players for our club and in the right direction of what we want. What he has said is it's always going to be a transitional season. We're fully focused on gradually, step by step, improving, developing the club further. The bottom line basically is that the season is off to a rocky start in Fife, but the club is asking fans to hang in there, and it isn't the final. This isn't the final way. It's going to be it's tough opening, but hope and believe that it's going to come good at some point. So, the main question, Dave, is a club hits a rough patch like Fife has. Fan morale does drop a bit. There is a bit of a ways too here on this podcast. We're fans of Fife in some ways.
Yes.
We know John is more than all of us. But we like an underdog story. We talk about previous like how we loved Edinburgh when Edinburgh in this league. We've got Fife now, and we want to see the best for Fife. but we maybe put an expectation on the shoulders of Fife this season. Not that they're
Yeah,
listening to us, but we put an expectation on Fife this season. We put an expectation on their shoulders. The fans in that arena probably put an expectation on the Fife shoulders. How is that? How does that, I suppose,
I totally get.
how do they?
I totally get what they're saying. That they're in a rebuild. It's a transitional year, new ownership, a different way of looking at hockey in Fife at the moment. They're not just happy with continuing the status quo, which is fantastic news. I uh, do think that a healthy bit of pressure is needed. I think if you, as a fan base and us as fans afar, if the pressure isn't there, then you run the risk of people not caring. As soon as people don't
Mm,
care, they don't go. And at the end of the day, clubs like Fife live and die on the football. So you need a healthy bit of expectation going into every game. Yes, that needs to be tempered with what's currently going on. In Fife with the changes, you can see it. I keep it's easy for me to draw back to Belfast. Belfast came off a number of fairly nasty defeats in the Challenge Cup, but still done a sellout on a Sunday against Fife,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
that's on the shoulder of expectations that are the Giants are going to give you an entertaining game no matter what. And I think Fife can do the same. They're poised definitely because of the media changes and how they conduct themselves. The fact that they made this statement is huge. How many years have we seen Fife languishing at the bottom mid-season, and you hear nothing?
Yeah,
Not even a peep out of their socials. And they're doing the right stuff right, if that makes sense. They're not just snapping to get some young fella in to fill a spot. They're looking for players for the season, not just
100%.
to fill a gap.
Yeah, 100%. Because Max Braber himself did say, actually, a part of that statement, he did say that we, in an endeavor to stay true to the word that they made at the very start of the season, that we'd be open, transparent, and honest with our fans. He basically just came out and said that one of the reasons why we're doing this announcement, or we've made this public statement, is because we wanted to continue that trend of being
Yeah.
open and honest and transparent for our fans and let them know exactly where we are. Not making excuses for what's happening, but to kind of highlight the fact that this is the reality of how things are happening. And you're right, it's not about moving in quickly and just picking the person out of a hat to see, what are they gonna, we need someone in and we need a body. It's about getting that right person, making
Yes.
sure that they have the right person, and what the priorities are for them is to make sure that they are getting, the right person in. That's not just a splash signing, if you will.
Yes.
And maybe that is just trying to maybe utilize that elite league rule. With the elite league ruling, it basically states that you've only got a finite amount of signings that you can have, but also this season the elite league have put in that you can have basically basically an unmarked number of basically
Two
homebred
ways. Yeah.
two-way players, and maybe that's the point. Maybe that's they look to see, is there something they can bring in, or someone, or young youth that they can bring in that maybe just bolster that roster just a tiny bit more. And they probably are. I haven't had a chance to look at the rosters and see if they've brought people in, but it's definitely early days for Fife. And I think, as they said, and if we would say the same thing, I think it's just time for the fans to, or I think the fans do just need to stay the course and stay positive, that hopefully by the time it comes to the midpoint of the season, they won't be looking at that 0 points at the bottom of the league like they had been pretty much all of last year.
Yeah, I think that we're going to see, based on the team that they've put out against the Giants, the few matches I've seen against them, they seem to have um, a lot of skill. They're very quick, and then Purbu. I'm sure I'm
Yep.
pronouncing that wrong.
Yeah. No,
Um,
he's not right.
as much as he had he let it was it 5 goals in against the Giants. He did face over 30 shots, 30,
Yeah.
40 shots. Um, so he stayed in the game. He kept them in. Yes, if they had got a goal, that could have been a completely different match.
Yeah.
So it'll definitely be interesting to watch.
Yeah. No, definitely. Let's move on to our next story. The next story we're going to cover, we're only going to briefly mention it. We're going to just kind of highlight our thoughts on it and move on, because the one thing about it, and you're probably everybody who's listening to the podcast or watching live now, they'll know what this story is going to be. It's the main story that basically took over the whole of the Elite League this past 2 weeks. And we are late to the game because obviously this came out last week and we record a week later. Other podcasts have covered this in depth, and this is, of course, the story coming out of the Financial Times piece, "How Romance Readers Fight British Hockey." Real headline, amazing journalism right there. It's one of those articles that sounds clever in the newsroom pitch meeting, but completely misses the point.
Yeah.
It's as it hits print. It's basically taken a handful of random anecdotes, stuck a bow on it, and called it cultural journalism. Pretty much, it's the kind of thing that you could tell the writer never actually. Well, they did go to a game, because when you read the article, you kind of see how she follows certain bits and pieces. But the main gist of it is basically where she kind of almost. For, most people are aware of it, and anybody who maybe isn't aware of it, who listens to our podcast from across the water, basically the gist of it is that she basically has said that the Elite League increased their footfall from female fans due to basically these romance books, and it kind of pushed things through. But what the article did, or what the article kind of made it seem, was this basically that's kind of what women in hockey and the fan base, female fan base, and the atmosphere around it is tied in with romance and basically goggling men and everything else. And I think it wasn't appropriate. It didn't capture the culture of hockey in the UK, especially not women and females who follow this wonderful sport. Instead of celebrating the people who actually make British hockey special, like the diehards, the families, and the volunteers, she didn't really link in with them. It was very clickbaity. Took an angle, and at the end of the day, hockey fans shouldn't be defined by their gender, but by the books they read, but how someone actually wants to categorize themselves as a fan. And this sport, it's not a gender thing. Just because you're male or female, it's not a gender thing for fans in this league.
Yeah, totally.
Really, there's no, there's others people who put it more eloquently than we did. I'll clearly state, and I know Dave, you probably are the same with me on this. It was just trash journalism.
Yeah, trash. It was very strange seeing that out of the Financial Times, which was a bit random. But if anybody's interested, there is a rebuttal printed in the Belfast Telegraph from a Belfast Giants fan, lady fan, and it does a lot better. Same story, but real news.
Yeah. And there's a wonderful podcast, 3-on-3 hockey podcast. If you haven't linked to those guys, go listen to their podcast. Last week they had on a lady called Sophie. I hope I got her name right. I'm pretty sure it is because I see her TikToks all the time and I follow her on TikTok and I like her videos. But she's a Nottingham Panthers fan who has done a lot over the last year and a bit around promotion of the fact that females in hockey, and it's really positive stuff that she puts out, and they had her on having a conversation about female fans in the hockey world. And if you haven't listened to it, go listen to her. She's eloquently spoken and she speaks so well about her position and the position of females in as fans in this sport, and that's really all we're going to really talk about it, because I think the main thing about it is that I think that it's got too much airtime. The person who wrote this article has got too much airtime for such a crappy piece of journalism, and I think that's it. I think that's our take on it.
When do we start doing all our clickbaity stuff? That's obviously what we're missing.
What? I clearly need to start doing it. I need to think of better clickbait titles and stuff. Maybe I should start doing that actually. When I'm doing my YouTube videos, maybe I should start thinking about clickbait, like "Can't believe this really happened," and then people are like, "What happened?" So yeah, I should start doing that maybe more to see if we can try and draw in more audience. Before we move on, Dave, I mean, I suppose the only real question I had on that is, do you think, the Elite League came out and had their say and they put out a statement to say what they thought. Is there anything the Elite League and fans do better to control the narrative in stories like this? Is there something, or is it, do you think they've done what they needed to do and that was it?
Yeah, they've done what they needed to do. The reason, obviously, you said it's for the clicks, for the views. But one thing that does show is that we're worth the clickbait. Where seasons gone by, there wasn't enough of us. Where now it's worth putting a clickbaity article out there, and everyone clicks on it and reads it. And yes, okay, that was complete trash, but hey, got people talking about the Elite League for a bit longer.
That's true. That is one take on it. Okay, let's move on to our last two parts for this episode, or for not this episode, this period. It'll be a very short episode. Let's first off talk about a couple of milestones that have been. What was? Oh, sorry, I just seen a wee comment there. Clickbait. Door 14 host causes rage from co-host with repeated goal jams. So true. So true. It's nice and peaceful, Anthony. For anybody who isn't aware, as I said, John isn't here. There's no games tonight anyway, so I did check to see there's no games, so there's no goal horns. But yes, I agree. Anyway, moving on, there is two major milestones were announced this past week. Two big milestones in Elite League, and they're worth pausing for a few minutes just to kind of have a quick chat about them. First off, we have Zach Sullivan. Manchester Storm hit 600 Elite League games. He's become only the 25th player in league history to do so. He's a British defenseman, 31 years old, and has dealt with a lot of injuries. So reaching this is a real testament to his consistency, his resilience, and his longevity. He even joked himself, it really makes him feel and realize how old he actually is. What is a bit rare is that Robert Lekowitz from Glasgow Clan,
That sounds about right.
he hit 1,000 Elite League game, fourth player ever to do that. I think Phillips, Myers, and Richardson are the other three. He has stated that he has had a storied career, mostly with Nottingham, a stint with Guildford, and now in Glasgow. He did downplay it on the night, and he tried to approach Sunday as another game, but acknowledged how special it had been over the years. Massive milestones, big numbers. It just really speaks for the durability, adaptation, and the professionalism. Dave, I mean, reaching 600. 1,000 Elite League games says, what does that say about a player's identity and like role within this league? I mean, the resilience first and foremost.
Yeah, it's to do anything for those many years is amazing, and it's shows a bit of dedication to the Elite League. Yes, people move around, and but they eventually find where they're going to stay, and it's good seeing that these people sort of make these big achievements. And yeah, it's great. It's great to see. And it just sort of shows that people can make a career in ice hockey in the UK.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I kind of always wondered about this, and it was a question, it's more maybe a rhetorical question than it is an actual one that's looking for answers anyway. But in a league with changing rosters and imports, clubs it tends to be the clubs that celebrate these massive milestones. The clubs tend to do the kind of put something on and kind of make a bit of an announcement at the start of each game. They kind of do something as they acknowledge the player has had 1,000 games, so they do this. The Elite League, in terms of the Elite League, I mean, how do they better celebrate and mark those career milestones? Because I think there's something missing from a point of view.
Yeah, and it's always been like we do have the UK Hall of Fame, and it's phenomenal when we hear people being inducted into it. Obviously, that's when they retire, and it's never same as the NHL. But it would be great to see some sort of more integration with the leagues. I know that this doesn't just go for ourselves, but any league in the UK. If there's somebody that's going to, that's of that caliber and can be justified for things like the Hall of Fame, and like we see the NHL make a big fanfare about who's going to be it's a whole year thing as they build up to that person being inducted. You put the articles up really early and they talk about their career and they build it up. There's videos and everything. It would be great to see something like that. I know that there's a price tag on everything, and there's no permanent staff sitting around in the Elite League towers to do that. But I think that is something as the league moves on into the future that they do need to look at. It can't just be the league for facilitating. It needs to be, the league like calling out milestones, calling out stars as such, and so making it more of a franchisey thing. You talk here in the NHL, all these. Whenever you think of players, yes, you know what team they play, but they play in the NHL straight away. So I know it's a different ball game, but yeah.
Yeah. Our next story, I feel like I'm rattling through these, but that's kind of really the
There's nobody to disagree with you.
No, we're mentioning these milestones, and I suppose it's just to kind of move ahead. That's exactly it. The next story we have.
John would have said something controversial and said these people are terrible and they shouldn't be here, and I don't know.
They shouldn't be celebrated. Who cares? They're from a different team. Yeah.
No, they need to
Um,
do 2,000 matches before they get celebrated. There you go. That's what John would have said.
um, our next story is it was one that was quite humorous to watch this past week as it was unfolding. We should say this is a drama in Elite League's transfer world this week. Whenever the Glasgow Clan dropped a short, polite, little tiny note saying Mitchell Hurd's contract has been terminated by mutual agreement. No drama, no detail, just we thank him for his service and off he goes. For 24 hours or so after Glasgow made that announcement to say we have terminated mutual agreement, there was a lot of hearsay about lots of rumors, lots of hearsay about where he was going to show up. The first thing that basically happened was that Mitchell Hurd himself put out I think he has like what you call those he has those cameo things or whatever they're called. I think it's
Oh,
cameo.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, so he has one of those, and he put out basically said that there was a sale on those or whatever if anybody wanted to get one. But when he put that up, he put up a picture of a photo that was uncannily resembled the SSE Arena, looking from our direction down the ice from the where the camera hole is for the photographer near where we sit. So the picture was taken from there, and when you look down the ice, you can see the markings for the sponsorship, and it looked like the Belfast Giants SSE Arena ice plant. So people were like, oh, Belfast have signed him. He's going to Belfast. Hurd's going to Belfast. And then after that, there was a rumor then that he was going to the Sheffield Steel Dogs. Then after that, Sheffield announced that Mitchell Hurd was arriving in Sheffield, and they basically had agreed to a contract with Mitchell Hurd to come to Sheffield. To be fair, Hurd is a solid pickup for them. He's had decent numbers in Glasgow, nearly a point per game, 21 goals, bit of edge, bit of grit, basically what Sheffield look for. But Dave, I mean, when a club says mutual agreement, do we buy that? Is that a code for something? Something's going on behind the scenes.
It's one of those ones. It's either it is legitimately of mutual consent, or it's one or both parties just can't be arsed with each other. I would say in this case that the offers probably came in and they've sat down, chatted about it, and they've went, well, I think it's it's good for your career. We're gonna hate to lose you, but we can't really stop you because we all know how rock solid the contracts are in the Elite League. So yeah, it's never as clean cut as you think, but we'll see
Definitely
how
not.
Yeah, and it's one of those ones where they say it's a mutual. Obviously, one party wanted to leave, the other one just went, well, fair enough, fine.
Yeah, yeah, and that's it. And we'll never know. I mean, you'll always hear stories. You'll always hear little tidbits from the crowd and from the fans and around that team, and they'll all have their own thoughts and opinions on basically what has happened. So we would never really know exactly the story behind it. But at the end of the day, he has moved to Sheffield, and Sheffield made that mid-season change already very early on at the very start. So interesting story to see, and we'll see how that all unfolds if it unfolds at all in any way. I don't think he was playing last night against Glasgow.
I don't think so. I
No,
didn't
I
see a big
don't.
fanfare about it.
No.
Sorry for my panic trying to find my charger. Got down to 15%. I was like tearing apart trying to find one, so I got one there.
Okay.
So you've got me to the end of the podcast.
Whoop! That's okay. The panic is over for me because I'm sitting here being like, quickly, what do I do? No, and that's it. I mean, it is definitely funny 24 hours. For a lot of people, kind of like wondering where he's going to go, and it was just the amount of rumors was just fantastic.
I
And you
think
will like to see it.
the Giants, I think as well. The Giants fans have obviously had their turbulent start, with the Roach having an injury super early on.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's going to be post Christmas before we have him back. We've also had our other injury issues with Brandon Whistles back out again. He's possibly out for the next couple of weeks, and whenever we heard that Hurd might be come to Belfast, everybody was sort of holding a bit of hope because it would have actually filled the spot where that Roach would have done. But it wasn't to be. But hopefully it. Hopefully it doesn't work out for the Steelers or something. I don't know.
There you go. Anthony's answered our questions. We thought Hurd was announced as not playing last night and did in the end. Oh, okay. There you go. He did end up playing. There you go. We weren't sure. Okay, that is it for the end of period one. I don't think we have any more stories. So with that, we'll swiftly move on to our period two of hockey.
Hello, and welcome to period two of hockey, where we'll talk about hockey from around the world. Um, we'll start today with a quick rundown of the NHL. Not much to talk about. There's only been about 4 games, 2 or 4 games played for most teams. But we'll start with the wild cards. So we'll do the Atlantic. Florida Panthers, 4 games played for 6 points. Boston Bruins, 4 games played for 6 points.
I think you're looking at.
Montreal.
I think you're looking at. I think you're looking at
Oh, an older
13th.
one.
Whenever you switched in, I think it goes to the 13th for some reason. I think that I give it switched through to the 16th.
All right, there we go.
I did the same earlier.
So Detroit Red Wings, 4 games played for 6 points. Boston Bruins, 4 games for 6. Montreal, 4 games for 6. Sounds very similar. The Colorado Hurricanes, 3 games for 6 for 100%. They haven't lost a game yet. I think that's the case.
Mm-hmm.
This is awesome. Washington Capitals, 4 games for 6. New Jersey Devils, 3 games for 4. And their wild cards, Florida Panthers, 5 games for 6. And the Toronto Maple Leafs, 4 games for 4. Then we move over to the Western. For the Central, the Colorado Avalanche, 4 games for 7. The Dallas Stars, 3 games for 6, so 100% for them. They beat the Wild 2 nights ago, which wasn't fun. The Nashville Predators, 4 games for 5. Then over to the Pacific, Vegas Golden Knights, 4 games for 6. Oilers, 3 for 5 points. The Seattle Kraken, 3 games for 5 points. Wild cards in the West, Chicago Blackhawks, 5 games for 5 points, and Winnipeg Jets, 3 games for 4 points. Now, still super early days. It doesn't really tell us anything. We're most people were looking at like 1 loss, 2 losses max, apart from people like Calgary and New York Islanders, where you're sitting in the slightly higher numbers. But yeah, super early. We'll not really. In the NHL, you don't really get any feel for who's doing what until about halfway through, and even at that, the real sport doesn't start till the season ends and the playoffs start over. But a couple of really good runs there. Dallas Stars and the Colorado Hurricanes undefeated at this stage. It's only a couple of games, but still really difficult to do in the NHL, as we know.
Yep.
Anything you want to call out, Marty? I don't think I've seen anything too interesting.
No, nothing really. It's been, I suppose, from a Toronto fan's point of view, it's been a bit of a mixed bag initially to start with. I think there's been a lot of talk, obviously, of the players that were missing, who have obviously moved on to Vegas, and whether or not that has had a massive impact on Austin Matthews or not. There's been a few jokes around about him basically on the phone at the end of each game being like, "Where are you? I miss you." So there's been a lot of talk around that. But they did beat Nashville. They did beat Nashville, I think, last night, which is great. The only other team you mentioned, obviously, having a bit of a struggle to start with is Calgary. With the initial part. The other one is obviously Ottawa Senators having a bit of a struggle there initially. I know there are 2 points with 4 after playing 4 games. So they're off the mark, but a -10 differential there is definitely for hopefully not a massive foretelling of how their rest of the season is going to go, but not a great start for them in the first few games.
Definitely not. And I would like to see them playing a little bit better, because I think they're the one of the other team that I'm seeing when I'm in Nashville. So I would like to see a good game.
Yeah, definitely. Can I just mention something quickly? Hang on, let me just bring up the information because I want to get it correct. So Vegas, Anthony just put up a comment there to say not as controversial as the most recent signing. Where's the comment? Less controversial than the other Vegas signing recently. So Vegas did announce and put out a statement today, I believe, to say that they had signed Carter Hart to the team on a multi-year deal. Now, if anybody isn't aware, and why is this controversial, there was a number of players, and we kind of we're supposed to talk about this story about two podcasts ago, and it kind of left our radar because I think we just ran out of time. And we kind of thought, well, do you know what? Like, it was an important story to talk about, but we kind of just thought, you know what? Let's bump it for other things, and that's what we did. But Carter Hart was part of the players that were being under investigation for an assault, a sexual assault, on a lady in, I think it was like London, Ontario, Canada, as part of seniors. And we talked about the story. We covered that story back whenever that all took place, and we covered the story whenever the hearing was being heard. Basically, the gist of the story was that they were found not guilty or not. They were kind of all charges were dropped, and the Gary Bateman had come out with along with the NHLPA and officially said that the decision had been made that they would be reinstated under the NHL terms of association and whatever else. And as part of that, then they just have moved forward as the first team to, I suppose, sign one of those players from that list, and that being Carter Hart. And they did release a statement today, basically saying that following the reinstatement decision agreed on the National Hockey League and the National Hockey League Players Association, goaltender Carter Hart will be joining the Vegas Golden Knights organization. The Golden Knights are aligned with the process and assessment that the NFL and NHLPA made in their decision. We remain committed to the core values that have defined our organization from its inception, and expect that our players will continue to meet those standards moving forward. So it has been received with mixed reviews, I
Yeah.
suppose, and mixed comments, as you can imagine on anything. But yes, the first team so far to I suppose, sign one of those players coming out of that story.
Yeah, it's going to be I would say, a controversial one for a long time until, I don't know, it's one of those things I just don't forget. We obviously have a very similar story from Northern Ireland in Ulster, so the Ulster squad and Ireland squad, and obviously take a very different stance than the NHL did. He's obviously not playing in for Ireland or for Ulster or in the UK after the allegations, even after the court case. So it does feel that, yeah, it's hard to, you feel like there's no smoke without fire and all that jazz. But we'll obviously keep an eye on it and see how it goes. But yeah, feels
Yeah,
uncomfortable.
we'll see if any other players show up or signed by other teams, and see what other teams maybe put out as their statements, to see if it's something that's similar to what Vegas has done today.
Okay, well we'll move on then. We'll move on to Marty. You've put in both pieces.
Yeah. Yep.
So I will let you, dealer's choice. Which do you fancy?
Yeah, let's stick with the NHL, since as we're talking about the NHL, and that is the story that we had been waiting for from last podcast, the podcast before. Last podcast, we had a great chat. Me, you, and John had a fantastic chat about contracts in the NHL. We talked about, obviously those bumper contracts and signings that have been happening right across the league in terms of like those 7-year deals and everything else. And we talked at long length. And if you haven't listened to that if you haven't listened to that, go back and check out podcast episode 141 in period 2, because it's worth listening to. It was a really good chunk that we had a good chat about it all, and I think
Comes
it
off
was
the
a
back
really good
of Krill Kippersoft's multi-year signing,
exactly
breaking every record in the NHL.
So at the time, whenever we were talking in the last podcast about the signings, we had talked about the fact that Connor McDavid was still in limbo about what he was going to do with his deal moving forward. As of this podcast now, we can confirm that Connor McDavid has signed a 2-year deal with the Edmonton Oilers, 12.5 million per year, keeping him in blue and orange through until 2028. What is interesting here is, though, that it's a short-term nature, and McDavid could have gone long-term and maxed out his leverage, but he deliberately chose a shorter deal. And according to his agent, he did say he wanted some flexibility and wanted Edmonton to have room to build a team around him, basically saying, I'm staying loyal, but don't screw this up. We believe, I know me and you, Dave, had this conversation last week. It's one of those feelings of, I'm giving you 2 years. I'm kind of getting to that point in my career. I'm kind of getting that point in my life and my age where I kind of need to think long term about realistically in 2 years' time, if the Oilers can't provide the support that I need and can't kind of compete for the level of Stanley Cups, then I need to think about where do I need to go in order to make sure I get a Stanley Cup against my name, because he deserves one and he's a big enough player that he needs one. And I
Yeah.
think that's kind of one of those things. So what do you read on Conor McDavid's short term? I think we talked about
So
this.
I actually, so yeah, we had a chat about it during the game on Sunday. I watched a piece on SportsCenter about it, and they had been digging into it a bit, and we're talking to other agents and other owners, and they still see Edmonton still see Florida as their big rival for the Cup again this year, and what Connor McDavid did by taking the smaller contract was level the playing field. Because if you're not aware, Florida has no income tax for these big. It's not no income tax, but they have basically no income tax. So by doing this, this has allowed the cap space to compete with that tax difference. So they can give the players a little bit more, so they're still taking home the same money they would get if they were playing in the likes of Florida. And that's what they were trying to do. And by giving them 2 years, that allows them to sort of have a bit of don't have to do it this year. They can do it next year, but they can build over the year. Because that's what McDavid and his team believe is the killer. Is that it's not just that he is that the players aren't able, they're able to get the same money with the cap, but then there's this big income tax, so the players lose out on money. So I think they've been saying that that's a huge big part of it.
Yeah, and it is an interesting one. I suppose I probably, like a lot of people, kind of expected that whenever this announcement was made about McDavid and about his decision about his contract, I probably am one of those people who did believe it was going to be mega bucks deal type thing. So the fact
When
that
he
he
goes
kind of
to
went,
Florida in 2027, it'll be 20 million.
you think it's Florida? Yeah, yeah. So with tax relief, yeah, I suppose it could be. I suppose that is the question. In 2 years' time, I suppose we'll be talking. I guarantee we're going to be talking about this story in 2 years' time. If the podcast will still be around, but it's we'll say the podcast will still be around. We'll be positive about it. In 2 years' time, we'll be sitting on this podcast talking about where Conor McDavid's going, or the decision that he's made to leave Oilers, and then we'll be, if there's a rumor that he's leaving, it'll be a whole thing of like, where does he got to go? Who's going to take him? And we'll look at things like who won the Stanley Cup last and who's forecast to win the Stanley Cup upcoming, who's got the best roster. So it'll be interesting to see where things
Utah
do
will be
go.
winning it then.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. So it will be interesting to see. 2 years is a very short time in reality. So we will be talking again about this in 2 years' time to see where things move on to. But yeah, reasonable 12.8 million, did I say, per year? I mean, it's still like it's small money in the world of sport, but it still sounds like massive money whenever I think about money.
Yes.
And I'm just thinking to myself, well, he's been responsible and reasonable, and I think that's definitely says a lot about where he kind of hopes that the Oilers can take him, and he has faith they can do that. So watch the space, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Last story for period 2, Dave, is we did touch upon this last podcast, but it is official news that has been put out by the IIHF this week, and they officially launched the European Cup of Nations. We talked about last podcast about that they had been talking and conversation about that the fact this was come along, and the Team GB would be hosting part of this in Edinburgh and everything else. But IIHF came out this week and have announced that it's a new competition designed to make international breaks more meaningful. The inaugural season kicks off during the traditional November, December, and February international breaks, featuring 18 national teams across Europe. Participant countries include, and I'm going to run through the list, so apologies if this is too long, but I'm going to run through it anyway: Germany, Slovakia, Latvia, Norway, Denmark, Austria, Hungary, Poland, France, Slovenia, Great Britain, Italy, Netherlands, Lithuania, Estonia, Spain, Romania, and the Ukraine. They have said that all games will be broadcast live on IIHF TV, offering fans around the world access to top-tier international hockey outside of the annual World Championships. The president for the IIHF stated, "This is a huge step for European hockey. For years, our member national associations have asked for a framework that brings consistency and a purpose to national team breaks. With the European Cup of Nations, we're finally delivering a product that we believe has the potential to grow the game competitively and commercially right across the region." So there you go. We talked about it briefly last episode, and they have put out the official statement for this episode. Dave, I mean, we talked about it briefly last episode, but what impact do you think this European Cup of Nations will have on the development of hockey, and especially smaller European nations, and also for Team GB? We touched upon it kind of briefly last week.
I think having any tournament at a national level is always good. We talked about seeing them using sort of non-standard. So we usually see GB playing out of Nottingham all the time. We've seen them playing at Coventry, I think, once or twice. But it's good to see them taking it north of the border and going up to Scotland, and then taking it further south. I think they're playing in Milton Keynes. So getting the more games there is, the more they can do with that. And getting to see GB would be, I think, it would be a great fun. I know it's an interesting. We had obviously the World Championships here one year, and it was. Sorry, seeing Anthony's comment there. And he's not in the south. Anything below the Scottish border south to us.
It's under Scotland. It's under Scotland and south.
So yeah, and it'll be really interesting when we held the World Championships in Belfast. We held the SSE held, and we were a bit concerned because it's obviously a different market, and it can be Northern Ireland has its issues, but it was great fun, and they got the crowds in, and I think it's just because you get to see international hockey. It's different. It's different players. So yeah, any chance to get these people together to play matches, and then we might start seeing teams that we've never seen before playing against GB. So yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, no, I think it's great, and I think I'd say we did talk about it a bit more last week, just from like a point of view of what development that means for Team GB. But the fact that we now have the official statement is always good, and we have a confirmation of exactly which teams are going to be involved. So yeah, look forward to that. I'm sure now, and any free hockey that you can watch on IIHF website is going to be fantastic. So let's do that. I think that's me. That's the last story I had.
That's the last one.
Let's move on to the next story, but that's the last one I
had. And then with that, then we can move on to period 3.
Okay, period 3 is our general Knocky news.
Knocky
news is our last period where we just cover any other stories that don't really fit into period 1 and period 2. So basically, there's stories that catch our attention that we end up sending in our WhatsApp group, and we kind of want to talk about them because they're just kind of a bit of fun and banter and kind of not very serious. So I'm going to start us off, Dave. If that's okay. I'm going to start us off with what I'm classifying as the best giveaway that has ever been created.
Yes.
Let's see if I can find the. Here we go. The Anaheim Ducks have their opening game, and they, as part of that opening game, Anaheim put together had a fly together night where they put a Darkwing Knight hockey mask on every single seat in the arena. There is a time-lapse video on their X account where it shows all of the seats being filled with these masks. Now, the masks are phenomenal, and you can see the image here for anybody who's watching the podcast. If you're listening to the podcast and you haven't seen it, go check them out on X, or go and check out the video version of our podcast, and you can see the image of these masks. But basically, they are, as you imagine, the famous Anaheim Ducks mask from their logo, and every single member of the audience on that night, spectators on that night, got one of these on their seats, and they could just honestly, for a freebie, these are phenomenal. And I know a bunch of these are probably going to show up on eBay, and they probably already
Yeah,
have done. I haven't checked to see, and I'm sure they're ridiculous prices on eBay. But if anybody who wasn't in the arena, you can go to the Anaheim Ducks store, and I believe you can purchase these as well. But
that's
Dave, I
class.
mean, how amazing are these things?
That's awesome. It puts the wee waving tiles in the whole different ball game. These are awesome. Just in time for Halloween as well. I know what everybody is dressing up as in Anaheim.
100%. Casey Jones, 100%. Um, it's just oh my god! Like I seen these and I was like, oh, I really wish I was there. These are just phenomenal. And I love there is a video, there's a photo. I forgot to add it to this slide, but there is a photo of the opposite side of the inside of the mask, and it's quality. Like when you look inside, those the eye slots and stuff are completely covered with like a nice red film and stuff. But it's not even.
Yes.
I thought it'd be like a flimsy like plastic, but they're proper like solid plastic that's over the front of the eyes. But Anaheim too much money is what I'm saying. If they're able to give
That's
out
it.
these
Yeah.
quality masks to every single person sitting in the seats, including the
California
ice
for you.
ones, that's it, indeed. Um, but yeah, I just thought I'd highlight these because I just thought they were fantastic, and I know we sent these in the group chat, and I thought, you know what, we have to talk about them.
Yeah, I think they're class. And on a comical note, I'll move on to my piece then.
Yep.
So mine is the unveiling of Tusky, the, the mammoth mascot for the Mammoth, the Utah Mammoths. Um, Brilliant mascot, lame name. Um, they done a really good job with their mascot suit. It is proper, as intimidating as a cartoon mammoth can get. Is pretty cool. And they done a really good reveal show of him breaking out of a block of ice at this on center ice. I think they've done a fantastic job there with their mascot. Wish it was a better name, but hey, it's difficult whenever your other options are Manny, which you'll get sued for. Um, but I have to give them a stick tap for the costume. As I said, not too fussed on the name. What do you think, Marty?
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, the look of the mascot itself is good quality looking mascot. I mean, he looks intimidating. He looks huge when you see him on the ice. 6'5",
Yeah,
I think is what they said he is.
yeah.
And I mean, yeah, generally it's great. I agree with you. I just think the name is just very. I just don't like the
Tusky.
name.
Yeah.
Tusky just doesn't. It just doesn't do it for me. I just think it's just really like, what feature does he have that stands out? Oh, he's got tusks. Tusky. I just don't like the name at all. The only thing I can think of for anybody who we talked about WWE last week, actually, I'm going to talk about WWE again this week. But when he was in the block of ice, and he was breaking out of the block of ice, and I watched the video back, and I was looking at the block of ice. The only thing that I could think of was the classic Shockmaster WCW Clash of Champions when the Shockmaster who's infamous for being basically a big, massive man with basically a glitter stormtrooper helmet on, if I remember correctly. But his entrance was completely botched and he just kind of fell through. And it was just so underwhelming. And I kind of thought when he's coming out of that box, and I know he came out of the box okay, but when I seen it, I was like, oh my God, imagine. That's all I could think of the whole time. But yeah, no, as a mascot, yeah, it's grand. I mean, what else? I mean, I mean,
Sorry, did you see? I can't even put. Why can't I put that on the stage? Um,
Mammoth in Utah. You know what? Actually, Mormon the Mammoth, I actually would have warmed to more. I would loved it if he was called Mormon the Mammoth. It's definitely better than Tusky.
Mormon the mammoth. Yeah,
That's so good. I would have totally called him Mormon the Mammoth.
very on the nose, but yeah,
Very much so. Very much so.
brilliant. Oh, I love it, love it. Oh, so Marty, do we have another piece? I seen you
Yes. So
furiously typing.
we have the last part, and it wouldn't be a Door 14 hockey podcast without our usual finish to period 3 hockey news without having some jerseys to have a quick look at and get thoughts on what we think of certain jerseys. So, Dave, I've put together a collection of jerseys. Some jerseys, two of them I reviewed already on TikTok, so I want to get your thoughts on them. They're Halloween themed jerseys. There's a couple of jerseys that I haven't reviewed, and I thought let's put them up here and get our thoughts. First and foremost, let's look at the first one. The first one is this one from the Belfast Giants. The Belfast Giants and the SSE Arena and the Odyssey Trust this week announced their partnered charities for this coming season. So each season, the SSE and the Odyssey Trust, along with the Giants, pick out two specific charities that they will try to raise money for over the course of the season. This year, they have chosen two charities, and one of those charities is the Air Ambulance of Northern Ireland. As part of that, they are going to be wearing these jerseys. For anybody who's watching, you can see the jerseys on the screen. If you're not watching, they have released these jerseys on their social media channels. They are replica versions of the only thing I can describe as ambulance airmen uniforms, red and white striped uniform type things with our ambulance logo right in the middle, which is a great little tribute to the Air Ambulance for Northern Ireland. Dave, I mean, these are harmless uniforms. They're they're great
Yeah,
little bits and pieces that they're going to go out in. Air Ambulance does some amazing work in Northern Ireland. I know a few of our friends personally have raised money for Air Ambulance Northern Ireland. I mean, this is a great charity, and these are nice looking little jerseys for that.
yeah, I can't agree more. Fantastic charity, and as far as I remember, almost completely funded by charitable donations.
Yeah,
And yeah, they've done the jersey justice. Still better than our regular season jerseys.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, and the more I see those regular season jerseys, the more I hate them.
Yes.
I see. I was watching. The more I've been watching the away games and looking at those white ones, and I'm just like, someone put up the other week actually that the Giants don't need to make a Halloween jersey because they've already made one because they look like mummies already in those white ones. And actually, now that I see it, I'm like, yeah, that's all I can see when I
Oh,
look at
brilliant.
those white jerseys. Moving on to the next one, we have our first of the Halloween jerseys. We should have brought this one in last episode and we didn't. And this is the Glasgow Clans attempt at Halloween, and we haven't reviewed this one yet at all. So, Jave, let's get your thoughts. Halloween jersey from Glasgow Clan. This is their attempt. What's your thoughts on their Halloween jersey?
Yeah, bit clip arty, but yeah, it's a Halloween jersey. They're meant to be a bit random and out there. It's not fantastic, but hey, I know what that's good. The good effort.
Yeah,
As I said, very clip arty. It's very what our Halloween jerseys would have been 10 years ago. If that
yeah,
makes sense.
yeah,
When
yeah,
we first
yeah.
started using the supplemented jerseys, um, I think we had one fairly similar, but with like a house in the background, like a spooky house in the background and stuff.
I know exactly which one you're talking about. Yeah, it was like a haunted house themed one. I
Yeah.
know exactly which one you're talking about. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, as I said, good effort. It's better than the last few that Glasgow have done. Um, but yeah, looks alright. Sorry.
Yeah, I agree. I actually, do you know what? I'll agree with you. And I kind of stated this already publicly on TikTok about Halloween jerseys. I do like a Halloween jersey that tries to be bold and that you can clearly see that there's a
It's
Halloween
Halloween.
theme to it. Glasgow have done what they can. I think there's too many pumpkins along the bottom of that jersey. I think there's just
Yeah.
maybe if they didn't repeat the pumpkin on the body as well as the arms, it would have maybe hit a bit more better. I think if they just had it on the body of the actual jersey and not on the arms, it might have looked a bit better. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you can see what they're going for, and at least they're trying to make sure it looks Halloweeny. The
Yes.
next one we have up is the Sheffield Steelers. The Sheffield Steelers will be wearing this jersey as a warm-up jersey only. Now, we should caveat this with we are fully aware, and this is something that I was kind of very aware of whenever I was talking about this on TikTok, is that obviously we know what happened previously on Halloween for the Sheffield Steelers and everything that happened with the Sheffield Steelers and Nottingham Panthers, and that was a Halloween
Yes.
themed night and everything else. So we know there's a bit of they don't want to go too bold with the Halloween thing because of they
Yes.
don't want to trigger and everything else. So the Steelers have put out this as their warm-up jersey. It's subtle. It's got the spider webbing in the background. The steel hand is holding a cleaver. Black, obviously shadowy with the whole Halloween theme, and it keeps with that orange, themed Steelers coloring and glow. But Dave, what's your thoughts on these?
Yeah, they're quite nice. It's nice because they're a warm up jersey, so they don't suffer from too much sponsorship. Obviously the Ogilvy's down at the bottom, but that's it. The the sort of creepy glow spider webs, yeah, it's pretty good. I would say in person they'll look a lot better.
Yeah.
Especially things like the spider webs. You don't whenever you see them on the actual jersey, they're normally a wee bit clearer than they are in the mock-ups, which I think will make it look a lot better.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think I said the same thing. I did see a picture today of a player in one on the ice, and it does look slightly different, obviously, from this image that's on here. And it does look a wee bit more clearer, as you say. But yeah, not bad at all. And I think it's, it's inoffensive. It looks good. It's nice looking. As I kind of said, I think it's a nice looking jersey that you could get away with wearing quite
Yeah, actually,
outside of
yeah.
Halloween. It doesn't just if it was more if they were going for the Halloween theme, it just be a bit more bold. But I kind of understand maybe the reasons why they didn't go maybe as bold as maybe what they maybe I kind of wish they would do with Halloween, but I can understand why. Looking at the next one, we're switching over to the NIHL, and this is the Romford Raiders one. Thank you to let me get the name because I had missed this one, and it was actually someone had sent this one to me to say about. Let me see if I can find it. But Dave, yes, this is the Romford Raiders attempt at Halloween. They've went with a parrot themed jersey. And while it looks nice and I like the coloring and I like the kind of theme that they've went with the Romford Raiders and the parrot kind of idea, for me, it's more like if they were going to have a Pirates of Caribbean themed movie night, then yeah, perfect. It works really well for that. But for Halloween, not so
I
much.
actually I quite like it. I'm not too fussed on. Is there like a water effect on the blue, or am I
Yes, there
going?
is. Yes, like a
I'm not a
watery
big fan
effect.
of
There
that,
is.
but I do like the scrolls. The sort of rolled up paper, and the logo. I love the logo. And it's the good thing with stuff like that is if they can make an identity around their Halloween logo, then every year they can do something slightly different, but still I think it's nice.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a nice jersey. I just don't think it captures Halloween for me. But yeah, it's nice enough. And I'm sorry I can't find that name. I will maybe try and find it before the end of the podcast, and I'll come back to it. The next one we have is one I've already reviewed, and this is the Milton Keynes Lightning's Halloween themed jersey. Now,
Yeah,
starting off with it's very busy, but it does exactly what I said. It kind of captures that Halloween theme. You've got you've got death in the middle with the lightning. You've got the pumpkins kind of shadowy in the bottom. I like kind of like that red and black kind of armband kind of thing. It's bold, it's trying, and you can tell it's Halloween straight away. Kind of has a bit of a horror movie vibe about it in some ways.
I think they executed on Glasgow's idea just better. This is sort of what I was sort of feeling. They've got the better separation with the top, the bottom, the colors and the arms for the sponsors, and then the change up on their logo. Yeah, I think they've done a smashing job. Um, I can hear John somewhere screaming about, uh, non traditional jerseys. But no, I love a good sort of not comedy jersey, but um, seasonal jersey, let's say. And yeah, no, I think it looks really well.
I should go back just to this one and just say it was thanks to It's Your Boy Jord. Is his username. He's the one that sent us through to us. And there is one that I missed, but we'll maybe look at that next week or in 2 weeks' time because it will be Halloween pretty much for the next one. I did miss the fact that the Sheffield Steel Kings sent us directly a message about their jersey, and I didn't add it to this podcast because I only got it there now. So I will add that for next week's or 2 weeks' time's podcast. So I will add that. So apologies for not adding that to this one. The next one we have up is the Phantoms. This is their Halloween jersey. Again, going with that spider theme, similar to the Sheffield
Yeah,
Steelers. Looks quite Spider-Man Venom-esque. What's your
yeah,
thoughts?
I do like it. I'm not a fan of monochrome jerseys.
Mm.
Remember, the Giants did a season ticket jersey. It was just monogram, and it feels like your printer ran out of ink. I think if they had a pop of color, doesn't need to be much. Especially if you're going for that sort of Spider-Man-y feel, a wee bit of red or a wee bit of blue would do wonders.
Yeah.
And if you're going for the sort of Venom, go the cartoony navies and sort of purples. from the cartoons and comics.
Yeah. The Phantoms. One thing I will say is the Phantoms logo really does stand out on
Yeah,
this jersey. Really does. The Wendy's logo though also stands out quite a bit. I was like, Wendy, what? I completely didn't realize they were sponsored by Wendy's. I actually, to be fair, I didn't
I
even know there
didn't
was
know
Wendy's.
Wendy's. Yeah,
I
I thought it was
didn't
gone.
either. So did I. So there you go. Surprised by that as well. One last jersey, and this is moving away from UK and switching over to the US, and this is the NHL, and moving off the Halloween theme. And Dave, this is one we kind of had a quick look at over the weekend, but I wanted to put on here. I know a lot of the NHL teams this year are celebrating milestones. There's quite a few of them celebrate milestones, and a few of the teams have put out new looking jerseys, have refreshed their jerseys, and some new logos, and a bunch of others have all been put out. But the one that has caught our attention, the one that caught my attention and caught your attention, was these beautiful, and I mean
Yeah,
absolutely stunning jerseys from the Detroit Red Wings, who are celebrating their centennial 100 years this year. As part of that, they have released these jerseys, which are a throwback jersey to basically 100 years ago, where they have the bold red jersey with the slightly off white, kind of more like a, what's the right phrasing for the color?
sepia sort of.
Yeah, yellowy type style jersey logo. But what has been noted and is amazing on this is that they have the brown leather gloves on in these pictures, and they look phenomenal. And I just
Yeah,
want to push you on to the next slide, because the next slide takes you into some of the little finer details of these jerseys, which just makes it stand out even better. The logo has this little stitching pattern on it to make it stand out, which kind of is like an intricate little weaving kind of pattern, and it's just a beautiful little added additional extra, and adds the detail of that logo, makes it really stand out beautifully. They also use that kind of brown leathery style look for the Captain C, and also they have an established 1926 little patch on the bottom of the jersey, again in that little brown leather style as well, which just looks phenomenal. Obviously they have the 100-year logo, which they've added on the Detroit Red Wings logo inside the 100, which again makes it stand out beautifully. And they've incorporated the ties in nicely as well with this jersey. I mean, honestly, is there anything bad? Is there anything to hate about this jersey?
it's absolutely lovely. And I when I seen it the first time, it blew me away. But then it's the little things, like they've went all out. So one thing I showed you, Marty, on Sunday was their website has been changed to make it look like old newspaper. So instead of it just being the articles, being normal, they look like they're cut out of a newspaper. They look like they've been printed and stuff. And it's really cool. The Instead of the goaltenders just wearing their own pads, they're all wearing the classic style sort of like mock-up in that brown leather as well. So you've got this throughout the entire team, that's sort of buying into the identity of the 100 years. They've done a great job, doing real proper callback. We've all seen throwback jerseys. This has taken it to a different level, and it's like a proper modern recreation of what they would have wore 100 years ago.
Yeah, I think they're absolutely stunning. And as I said, there's a number of NHL jerseys that have been changed or kind of maybe slightly modified this year, because there's a few teams who are celebrating. But I just thought this one specifically was just
Yeah,
too hard to bypass. We had to talk about this one specifically, but we will maybe have a look at the other ones
yeah.
throughout the
The
season, because
Wild
there's a
made
few.
the Wild made me feel super old, because I have their 25. I Sorry, they re-released their away jersey, which was their home jersey, um, for their first season,
Mm.
and they've re-released it this year for their 25th anniversary. I have that jersey from the 25th season, and it just makes me feel old. And it's exactly the same. They didn't do. It's not a recreation. It's not a reimagining. It's exactly the same as the jersey I have.
Yeah, yeah, no, I've seen it.
So yeah,
Beautiful.
just made me feel
Yeah.
super old.
Yeah. And that's it. That's all the jerseys for this week. And actually, that's it for this week's podcast. That's all of our stories covered. Probably in the most record-breaking time we've ever done this podcast. I'm not looking at the fact that John's not here, and I'm not saying that's the reason why. But yeah, record-breaking speed for us for this podcast. I
He
think there's been a
wasn't
few shorter
complaining
ones.
and there wasn't echoes.
No, that's true. And all that really does then is for us to sign off the podcast as we always do, and that we do that through obviously just plugging some of our stuff. If you haven't done so already, you can check out our video podcast, the video version of this podcast over on our YouTube channel. The QR code for anybody watching on our Facebook or anywhere else is up in the top corner over here. This point here, you can scan that and it'll take you straight to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe over there for some of our content, our newer content that we're putting out over there. We try to put out content once a week now on a Monday. We're doing a mixture of list videos, we're doing some tier videos, and we're also doing a series called A Brief History, which is going to cover some of the teams from the Elite League over the next few months. So get over there, check them out, and see what you think. Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and do all that stuff over on YouTube, and hit the bell as well, which is down around here somewhere, to follow us
Is
over
it
there.
Anthony saying he's coming to Belfast? Is that what he's saying in the chat?
He is coming to Belfast. Yes, he is.
Door 14, Anthony. It's an easy one.
There's a seat right beside us. There's a seat right beside us, Anthony. Come over and sit with us. He is. I've been his. He's booked in to come over. I've been his travel agent. And planning his travel for him. Looking at other parts as well. Don't forget you can follow us on all of our social media channels. Again, link is here. You can click on here, and it'll take you handily to our full list of social media. We're on all social media channels. We're on TikTok, Facebook, X, blah blah blah, all of the other ones at Door 14 Hockey. So go over there. Don't forget to follow us and do all that good stuff there too. And you can check out Door 14 Hockey website, door14hockey.com, where it has this episode and all the other episodes are up there. You can go over and check those all out. Don't forget to go back and check episode 141 for that chat about the NHL and contracts, because it is a good one. With that, it is just time for us to sign off for this week. I'm Marty.
I'm Dave.
Have a great week.